Press the bell icon and never miss your dose of motivation when I upload my videos. Hello and welcome back to the Motivational Speaker Diaries. Well, every Wednesday I come here and I recount a funny anecdote or a memorable incident that happened in my 23 long year career of motivational speaking. So before I get started, you know my drill. I have my books. I have written 10 inspirational books and I know you will love all of them. I mean, these are great spiritual adventures. All my books are adventures and all my books are great stories which have a spiritual undertone to it, including how to write a book in 8 days. It's a tell-all book on how you can get started on your story and publish it and make it a bestseller. Well, if you ask me, I would recommend I Am Another You very strongly to you. It was my first book which got me started as an author. It's a trip that I took to Netherlands and I spent 2 weeks with the shamans, and I have written some very interesting stuff that I did there, things that changed my life, that gave me a different perspective. And I always tell people, travel. You will not return back the same person. So, bringing you to the adventures that I have had in my career of motivational speaking. So somebody asked me, Priya, has there ever been a time that your audience were not interested in listening to you? Well, there was one time. This was very early in my career. I was called to speak at this community gathering. Okay, so it is one of those clubs. I won't tell you the name. Their format was that they get together, they eat some food, they have some drinks, and just for time pass they'll call a motivational speaker also, ताकि ऐसा लगे कि हमने valuable वक्त बिताया after spending all the money of the club and the community. So I was called for one such gathering. Now this was over dinner and drinks. So I was called at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8, 8:30 you talk, then the dinner and the drinks begin. Okay, so my talk starts at 7 and I go there and it's already jam-packed and people are already drinking. Abhi 7 baje to shuru hona hai. People came in early because there were free drinks, so they just got the bar open and they started to drink. Okay, now while they're drinking, there are people eating snacks and there are people calling the waiter, tum idhar aao, and so on. So the organizer comes and tells me, in the middle of this chaos, the stage is empty, there are two people standing there also and having a discussion. And I come in and I'm like, what is this? I don't think these people are interested in a motivational speaker. Forget any speaker. They have come here only to have a good time, a free drink and some free food and laugh. So the gentleman says, आप शुरू हो जाओ. शुरू हो जाओ मतलब हम यहाँ क्या करने आए, शुरू हो जाओ. He never even told the audience, please sit down, now we have a speaker amongst us and the speaker is going to talk in so and so subject. कुछ भी नहीं, बस मेरे को माइक दे दिया और बोला शुरू हो जाओ. So now I go to center stage. Nobody is even making eye contact with me. I mean, forget they're not listening to me. They're oblivious of my presence. So I'm standing there and I said, hello, good evening everybody. Nobody bothered to even see ये आवाज़ कहाँ से आई. Yeah, they are chit-chatting, they are at the bar, they are getting their drinks, they are eating, some are fighting, some are laughing loudly. Nobody is even looking at me. I do not exist. Now what do? And this is a speaker's nightmare. See, if the audience is happy and smiling and if they are making eye contact with you, it brings a lot of peace and confidence to the speaker. Did you know fear of public speaking ranks number 2 in the list of fears, number 1 being fear of death. Means people had rather die than speak in public. Ask any speaker and he will tell you if his audience is yawning, just one fellow sitting in front of you and letting out this loud yawn, that's it. It kills your confidence. It makes you feel, मैंने ऐसा क्या बोल दिया? Did I bore these people to death? And so on. The posture of people sitting, if they're slouching, if they're looking around, and if they make this poker face or they sit with their arms crossed, all of this impacts the speaker. ये सब तो छोड़ो. That for me became still a pleasant audience. I had an audience who were not even seated. And I remember when I was young, when I was in school, I had to go for an elocution contest, national level. So my teacher was a tad concerned. So she said, Priya, you have spoken in school. We have about 200, 300 kids, but these will be thousands. So she didn't want me to get overwhelmed by the size of the audience. So here's what she did. She took me to an empty classroom, and every day, half an hour, she would make me practice my speech there. So she would tell me, Priya, now imagine this empty classroom. Imagine there are people sitting here. It's a full hall, and now you talk addressing those people. Let that be your practice. And day after day, I would go while the others were studying, so I had the opportunity to leave class. So I would stand in that empty classroom and imagine an audience. See, imagination is a very powerful tool. It puts things that aren't there and it removes things that are there. So I would conjure up this audience and talk to them, and I would see them smiling, and I would see them cooperating and applauding and so on. And it was such a great experience, one that I have carried with me till date. Whenever I go to talk, I will first go on stage. Even if the people have not shown up, I will go and stand there and imagine the audience, just like I used to do way back in school. That skill was handy, but here I have an audience that is not even seated. And that's when I said, Priya, if you can create an audience in an empty room, you can get rid of this audience and make it an empty room and plant in the audience that you had imagined. And I tell you, I took the mic. It took me a little adjustment. It took me 5 minutes to say, even if I stop talking, I don't think anybody is going to notice. Might as well I just go have dinner and go back home, and they wouldn't even miss it. So I said, all right, nobody exists in this room. And for me and for a person to unimagine, I think is the toughest game. It's easy to imagine a world like this, and now it's so difficult that you're living in this chaos and imagine this is a better place, to unimagine a reality. So first I cleared that room and made it empty, and then I filled it in with that audience from my school, and I spoke to them. These other people there were incidental. It was a 1.5 hour talk. How I pulled it off, my God, and I know. And that day was a turning point for me, where I know I can create any reality I so wish. Give me any audience and I will create my own, superimposing them on the ones that exist. But in the end, toward the end of 1.5 hour, there were people seated. They were making eye contact with me, and they existed. The plates gone, the drinks gone. I don't know at what point was the turning point, but in the end, when I said thank you very much and I acknowledged my audience, they clapped. There was one gentleman who I had particularly noticed because he was walking around swaying with this glass. He came and told me, you speak very well. Yeah, so that was the toughest one for me, one that set me up so solid into the future. And by the way, they had called me, they never paid me for it. It was as if they are doing a favor on me, that तुम ऐसे घर में खाली बैठे हो, कुछ काम है नहीं, you come and speak at our community gathering. But that taught me so much. It's not about the audience. A lot of speakers put a lot of weight, responsibility and blame, not credit so much, on the audience, saying, oh, the audience was like this, the audience was like that, unhi ko samajh mein nahi aata, what kind of audience is this, and so on and so forth. Well, the audience will be any audience. What have you come there to do is a question I had asked myself. That what have I come here for? 1.5 hours to talk? You do your job as a speaker, Priya. The audience are not doing the job. I can't take responsibility for that, but I can't join hands and now do a lousy job because they're doing a lousy job. So I that day delivered the greatest speech that I knew to deliver, and that somewhere touched a chord with the audience and turned them around at some point. Maybe it was the last 5 minutes, maybe it was half an hour into it, I don't know, because I was focused on my job. Similarly, a lot of people say that, oh, their seniors are not supportive, their peers are not supportive, and this is not okay and that is not okay, which means give me a perfect audience, give me a perfect environment, and now watch what a great speaker I will be. How easy is that? There never will be a perfect audience, but you have the power to make your job perfect, to make your speech the best one you have delivered so far, even if it was in an empty room. Although that club didn't pay me, but I learned the greatest lesson of my life. Yeah, and it's kind of similar where I'm talking into a camera and imagining you. I'm imagining you listening to this and laughing with me and commenting, or maybe some people just switched off in 10 seconds and maybe some people stayed at the end. And by the way, that's why I'm introducing my books in the beginning, for the people who will switch off in 20 seconds and hop on to another video, that at least I promoted my books, at least I put something in their heads that okay, go buy my book. So do a great job, do the greatest job ever. That's the only trick to surviving 23 years in your industry. It's about you, it's about your work. The audience will align, the people will join forces with you if you are standing there determined, unswayed, to do what you had said you would and to deliver more than expected. And hey, stay in touch with me. This doesn't have to end with the video. Put in the comments. I reply to all the comments. Call me, WhatsApp me, email me, send me a message on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm there and I love this connection. I hope I added value and I will see you again soon. Till then, rock it.